Good afternoon from the majestic city of Lhasa in Tibet. How are you all today that are joining us?
Good afternoon, everyone. While Asur'Ana has been in deep meditation in preparation for this webinar, I have been basking in the perpetual sunshine that gives Lhasa the nickname of the sunlit city. We are staying at the Shangri-La Lhasa Hotel in the Potala View Executive Suite. The suite is on the second floor, and we have stunning views of the Potala Palace and the magnificent mountains. Upon arrival, we were greeted with singers and given a traditional Tibetan scarf. The evening buffet has a great selection of Eastern and Western dishes, and surprisingly delicious. There is the oxygen room, where anyone with altitude sickness can breathe extra oxygen. Overall, the friendly and kind staff, along with the exceptional service, has been just perfect.
Yes, I totally agree with Per. The Shangri-La Lhasa Hotel is a lovely surprise. Okay, today we have a lot to say about light wave motion and organza ribbons of self. Organza is an amazing way to stream light, and as you get more gifted at it, you will be better in your waves and prose. That is the early publication of Shatar in Light Wave 2, Poetic Prose. And on the website, he produced all those essays along with Shati on partnership, and they wrote a little bit about the prose of love and care that create organza stream. If you go back through the waves and prose issuance of book, you will understand what he was trying to accomplish with me, because each of those waves and prose gave me an opportunity to learn how to light organza for the Dreamtime Ascension School, or DAS, events, and for my life too. Many of the twins and divine counterparts stories from Shati and Shatar were written during the time period from 2009 to 2012. Per and I met in 2008, and it was love at first sight for us. However, due to karmic manipulation from dark forces, we were separated for a little over a decade before we could be reunited again. Looking back now, even though it was a manipulation, it also served as a spiritual testing for our relationship. And so the prose and stories assisted me to heal over the loss of Per and to prepare for our reunion a decade later. The partnership prose and stories helped me to acknowledge the complex issues that couples face and many things that happen between people who care a lot about each other, but maybe unintentionally hurt each other due to manipulation from outside forces, or how some relationships don't really work out, and what it means to try to light organza, the love of the two, and sway in it rather than hurt one another through time, to a point that one gets ill or the other leaves, or whatever it is that is the loss of the bond of the heart Therefore, I worked my way through my own issues of loss, of bond, of my twin, and we parted ways for 10 years for our own self-realization within. So, during our time apart, I learned to swirl my light in a way that the care of my heart opened again and flourished enough so I could do my love and light infusions. That was an awesome time of rebirth and growth where I could apply all the Organza systems of waves that were needed in preparation for directing DAS with pair years later. Those who have studied in DAS have received periodic love and light infusion sessions from pair and myself. It has been an amazing experience of transformation for us and a system of care that was left with each for the rest of their life, whether they continue to study with us in DAS or not. And mostly those that depart the Dreamtime Ascension School and Asur'Ana and pairs continue work with light wave synergy are not starseeds, because Dao and Tao didn't wish them to carry on into work that wasn't right for them, including these webinars. And so we bless each that came and went and received something in there, like Organza from spirit that modulates their life in a new direction where more care can be present, more love can surround them, and perhaps they find a twin to sway with, either in their family or in their life or in a future marriage that really works for them. That was the gift of spirit for each who received the light infusion in DAS. So you may want to go back to the prose and waves of Shatar that was a building block system for light Organza. If it worked for pair and Asur'Ana, then it can work for you too as a reminder of how to light Organza in this life of yours. Light Organza is a system of wave that has a particular statement. So the statement is the prose of the two, or the prose of the love of the infinite, or the prose of the love within, or the prose of something else that was written about. And the waves in that motion and in it, and it in a sense plays a melody. It is light, but the communication of the light is the message of the prose to be in that sway, or to be in that truth, or to be in the honor of you, or be in a place that's beautiful rather than something ugly of non-light. So, we're going to explain non-light. Non-light is a state where suddenly black light starts to unfold over you. Sometimes the thoughts that you may stream in your mind that are negative causes black light to flow, and that's the worst thing you can do. Which is why they say erase every negative thought you might ever want to think, and don't let the word be a part of your vocabulary. So one of the things that the Tao wishes to give to you is an editing of your thought language stream, because thoughts come in on words you think about. You think about something to say. This isn't a good day, or I wish something different, or I feel this way, or I feel that way. The word shows up as maybe something negative in the vocabulary of you, and if you edit the negative vocabulary out of yourself, then the words are less likely to show up, and you simply may sit there blank rather than thinking negative thoughts. Now, this happened to myself, and it was a very odd change in a way, because I'd feel things, but the thoughts wouldn't have risen, because thoughts action light. And so I learned to stay in light and light organza rather than going into dark dream stream or dark notions, because the words weren't there to command the light to go black. That's a hard thing to even imagine. If you think negative thoughts, the light goes black in your transfusion. And the more black light you run, the more likely you're going to have light wave blood cancer or some other affliction of the body. But usually, blood cancer is the end result of running black light. So you can't afford to think a negative thought. So if you choose to erase them all, you may feel something, but the thoughts aren't there to express too much. That's an odd thing, because we do transfuse through negative emotions that are part of the anthology. And the more you go into your seed, the more likely you're transfusing in what's you and not the rest of the world outside there, that you're surrounded by, and family or friends or people you're living with, or whatever you're doing in this world of yours. And so our suggestion today is to allow your thought vocabulary systems in your own Akashic records to be edited of negative words. And then you may still feel it, but you don't express the word, and you think something else about the world around you when you come out of that emotional stream that comes from transfusing. Then light organza will work better for each of you, because the negative thoughts interfere with light organza in all cases. You can't afford to be negative. You have to be positive to light organza. And there is a time in the world of you to shift wherever you need to shift to be in light and not in darkness. Therefore, your focuses are important to you and to your lifeline and to all the things you're trying to do in light. Asur'Ana used to post Shatar's prose on the refrigerator about 5 for a week. They would be up there and she would walk by it and remember to be in the light and stream her organza rather than something else with her mind in her life. It really worked for her in that time period. Today we're working on something else within Asur'Ana's mastery, but organza is still a very beautiful part of it. When she goes out and about, she streams it with everyone she can and around them, and fills the restaurants or shops that she goes to with beautiful light airstream until it illuminates, and then she can enjoy it more as she goes about her day. And that can be true for you too. How does it work? Well, it's a subtle language. It's not a language that necessarily has anything in it, but some of the light organza statements of words that are what Shatar called perfunctory organza statements. If you look at his prose, they're very succinct in certain words that are unusual, and the words cause light organza to unfold. It's hard to imagine what it means when Asur'Ana wrote these prose, as he was very specific to build the words in for light organza for you and her to experience at events. Now you read them and probably thought nothing about it and didn't understand what he was trying to do for you, for her, or for anybody else. Shatar unfortunately folded, but he did depart his archives about the care space needed to light organza, which is why it was all around partnership lessons. Because in order to organza you have to get over your need not to love everyone. That's a hard statement because there are always people in your life that sometimes are difficult, but for light organza, you have to care for each in your life experience, not through time, but the ones that you face each day. And if you're in a position where you really can't stand the people that you're working with or living with or being with, then it's really time to get out of that circumstance and go do something else where you can enjoy the people that you're around, and then you light organza more easily. You see it in the young people that will come in and swirl the little company or bakery or wherever that they're working in with light ribbons. And they do it together, sometimes in Starbucks or Dunkin' or these places that young people work. Asur'Ana found it at 2 health food stores that is all young people. They just organza the place silly until it's all brilliant and even clears the critters out of the boxes and all this stuff. They don't know what it is that they're doing really, but they're positive and hopeful about their lives because everything lies before them rather than those of us that get older where we realize nothing lies before us other than transformation into something new if we have the energy to do so and the health to do so, and so on. So light organza will flow amongst the young people in most places, and that can include bookstores or even high spots where they like to go hang out, eat, dine, and listen to music. Young musicians can run organza into the restaurant or the bistro and often do it so graciously that they bring them back again and again. So you might enjoy venturing into places where light organza naturally streams with young people that are hopeful and trying to illuminate their world in a new direction so that they can find their way to in a mass society of greed and money and everything else. Many of them have families or whatever, perhaps with some finances of inheritance and so on. And maybe they'll create a world of their own out of whatever they inherit that's beautiful. But if you don't know how to ribbon it within your own world, then perhaps the business you try by yourself fails too. So it's a difficult issue sometimes for people in the quagmire of how to light organza when the society itself doesn't. The society itself puts light organza out or snuffs it out because of their own languages and because of their own negativity. So if you're around people that are negative, your light organza may run around you but not around them, and that's one way to contain it. Let's just say I'll run it for me and they can do whatever they want to, think out what they want, and I'm not going to bother with it at all. And if you're in a place where a lot of young people work and they organza, then they congregate together and find each other wonderful and try to help one another and complement one another, so on. Generally speaking, there will be some odd character that comes in that's the local boss that wants to snuff it all out, and then they get upset, and if they're very gifted, they will push him out of their dream and then he leaves. Pear saw that in a little store called Super Supplements in Idaho, where this really injurious demon came to work as the manager, who's not brilliant in his thoughts at all. The whole little group kind of gang up against him and got him basically laid off for not doing his job because he really wasn't interested in whatever he thought he was managing. Those sorts of things can happen in the play of enough people who light organza. So you put the one that snuffs the dream away, and then they can't return to the play, and that's how it works. So if you find people that you can light organza with, then you're better off. And in any society of people, probably under about 25 today, they do organza very well. it might be very interesting to hang out in their society for a time or go get to know them a little bit and see what it feels like to be around people who ribbon light naturally, because it's naturally a part of their biological understanding they brought in from birth. Now you're transitioning to biology that's light wave and having to learn to organza when they already do, and that's okay for you because it is a natural state of light wave DNA to stream ribbons of light and languages that are settled to the DNA. So the languages Shatar brought out in his prose are subtle languages of the DNA. There are certain words within it that are pivotal to cause the organza to align in a particular way, and I won't go through his prose and explain it to you, so you can read it and kind of see the unusual words that cause the motion of light to swirl in another direction that maybe it wouldn't have had you not read that prose thinking that you're going to light organza today. There are prose that may align your day really beautifully, and you should print it out and read it before you go out and say, okay, that's my perfunctory words that we're going to flow in this light organza sway of the two or sweetness or whatever you pick for the day. And then you see how that affects your world in a sort of way that you're not really understanding. And you watch for the ones that want to snuff it out. If you feel like you're sunk or it's not working anymore, then you figure out who just sunk it and start it up again by reading the prose again and saying, okay, I'm going to light organza longer than I thought this day and see what that means to me, or what it means to others, or what it means to everybody around me to light organza my world and swirl the prose of Shatar in stanzas of deep care of the two, or the sway of the Tao, or the love of the Dao, or the love of everything and all that is. Then see how that affects people's fields, people's minds, people's hearts, and everything that they are interested in or focused in may shift some. Light organza streamed in Atlantis to an extreme literally. It just flourished everywhere to a point that sometimes it warmed everything up so much that it melted things like plastic that they also somehow harvested out of the sea. They created a plastic that could do all kinds of things with the ornamental hangings on the wall and all that, and thought it would light stream really well because it was the sort of substances brought out of jellyfish, I think, and something else perhaps like shells. So they mixed it together and they created a bond, and they could color it anyway, and they could carve it in gold or silver, all these things, and have these ornamental hangings all over the wall. Society got very good at light organza as the next generation grew it, and then it all melted and dripped upon the floor. So they had to take it all down and throw it away and said, well, that was good for the last generation, but geez, it really created a mess on our walls. And so they learned to cover their walls up with another substance that didn't melt and had to paint it then. And then they could have the paintings along the wall that were beautiful, kind of like the plastic moldings or whatever they had gone into. That worked better because the paint never melted, and that's the nature of resins, I guess. But whatever it is, that just shows you the power of light organza to warm up your world. Now, what is important about warming up your world today? Don't worry, you're not going to destroy your computers or anything like that. The plastics that are made today are petrochemical and highly unlikely to melt in light or gas that's produced in this society. That would be a big problem to have your car melt on the floor of the highway as you drive down the street or something, and that really won't happen. But light organza can warm you up. So the first thing we're going to do is allow the light organza to warm up your spine. Now there's a way of running this that you can close your eyes in this moment and think about and think through, because it's to warm up your spine, your cortex and your mind, so that it syncopates better throughout your day or throughout this evening of your rest time, if that's where you are in listening to this particular webinar. Asur'Ana and Pear tried this at our DAS events in 2022. For those of you that made the intention to be there prior to falling asleep each night or on selected nights of your choice. It didn't really take flight very well because you weren't prepared in your body really to receive ribbons of light. So in 2022, the Tao of the planet assessed to see where people were coming out of ascension into light wave motion, and he reorganized light wave synergy into people who could transfuse and motion light, and then said, well, we won't do that organza stuff again, maybe for 2 years. And so here we are, like 2 or 3 years later, and finally producing a webinar about something we tried that year in DAS that you congregated, and it was the year that separated and divided those who couldn't motion light and retaining a group that could. Some have returned to the school that are old, and they could prove their light motion in another way other than under our guidance. And that's interesting to study because they're actually very gifted, and they founded their light stream in a different notion than perhaps Babaji and Baba provided all of you as you studied all materials through time. So anyway, close your eyes a little bit and sit back if you can. Don't go to sleep on this door. So we'll begin by having each of you inside your egg. Next, open your egg up all the way around your room. So you organza in your light inside your sea system that surrounds you in the room at this time. Then you're going to ignite a key in the flame of the ball of the sun underneath your foundry and underneath your mulch bin. Under your feet is a foundry. That's your flex point of light organza. And so it flexes light. So what happens is underneath your mulch bin, under the foundry, is a ball of light that is your sun. And we recast your ball of light last night to make sure it had all 7 rays available to organza for you today. Recasting your sun is necessary maybe once a week, and the angels will support you with that as you request it. Check to see if it looks murky or weird in your mind, or if you muscle test it or pendulum it that is not well. It may or may not feel well in your light motion, and so you know that the sun underneath you needs to be recast to have all 7 rays available. And so we did that last night. The angels were very gifted, and they said the young people do this en masse. They have one giant sun that sits underneath the foundry, sometimes of organizations that light organza, and places like Starbucks or Dunkin' often have this, or sometimes little cafes or places that young people congregate throughout their days. The universities have a lot of this right now, as do many school systems, and the kids are motioning more and more light, and it's going to change their teachers and the nature of the education system. Probably in about 8 to 10 years, you will see some new ideas crop up that cause schools to be more interesting for kids that motion light. But for yourself, you're private, and that you have your own ball of light. But if you go into a place that has a big ball of light in it, that a lot of young people run, is a good place to go and sit and recast your sun. Several of our affiliates would sometimes go sit at Starbucks, Dunkin', or any beautiful resort that had a lot of young people working in it. And they had a big sun under it. And sometimes there was another one under the lake, river, or mountain in front of it. And each would go and douse themselves in light and kind of clean up themselves and clean up their own sun. So it worked better for their own organza the next day or two, and each went there frequently, and that helped them a lot. So you may find places like that. If places of light organza are spread throughout society, it would be a lot easier, but it isn't always. So getting to places where young people light organza and looking at their sun and allowing yourself to put your sun in the middle of their sun and clean it up is very, very helpful. And so what we begin as we work with this light is to pull up a ribbon of white light. And you're going to make it about the size of your spine, perhaps a little bit wider. And you're going to feed it through the tailbone and go up through each vertebrae. We're going to trigger an organza of warmth. And organzas of warmth have a particular ray in it that is phosphorus-like, and it's very, very nurturing to the spine to do this. Keep letting it flow up each vertebrae one at a time, igniting the points of light in each vertebrae. There's a joint of light in each vertebrae, and as light joints ignite, the whole spine motions better and more evenly throughout the day. Therefore, this is a good thing to do if you have time in the morning before you go about your day, is to sit with your fresh squeezed juice or something like that and bring up a beautiful light ribbon up through the spine and ignite each joint all the way up to the neck and then into the mind. There are little balls of joints that you see inside the ribbon that ignite with a spark to warm the spine into the beauty and grace of who you are through time. The next ribbon we're going to bring in to complement that is pale blue. Now some prefer pink for care, but pale blue has another sort of motion in it that detoxifies the form. Now this ribbon is going to be as wide as your hips. You will bring it up through the feet, the calves, the knees, and then up through the thighs and into the hips and all the way up to the waist. Let it sit there for a moment and illuminate all your lower body organs, the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, the large intestine, the uterus or prostate with blue light. And that is very nurturing for detoxification purposes of your existence at this time. Take a breath about that too and say, okay, we're going to purify your abdomen now. And then you motion the light ribbon up through the chest and up through the hands and into the elbows and up the arms and into the shoulders and neck. We're going to hold it right there for a minute to purify the heart and the lungs and give yourself more freedom to be in the breath of life in light organza. The breath of life is not necessarily deep breaths, because you can get too many gases of the wrong kind into the blood, and as often many of you may find that the deep breaths that you used to take shallow out, and you become more of a short breath person because blood works better with only certain gases coming in and out of your system. And if you create an environment heavy in ozone and ions, and it mixes into oxygen, and that's better. And the mulching of the body, which we're going to do today too. Mulch it from head to toe creates more oxygen in and around and through the body too. So let's do that now. Now we don't bring white blue light into the cortex, just white. So you fold the blue organza up and around the mind and let it go out beyond the top of the head and allow the blue light to purify who you are in the organza of you. Now the next thing is going to be a rose-colored ray, not pale pink but rose. So we're going to bring the rose light ribbon up, and it is the width of the hips roughly that you're going to run. You're going to bring that ribbon up through the legs and into the waist and let it sit there for a moment to allow the body, the lower half of your body, to feel absolute love. Absolute love of all that is the rose ray, and it's something that nurtures the cells. So let the rose ray go into every cell from your toes to your navel, and let it sit there for a moment and really unfester the things that are there that maybe don't feel loving within the body. And those can be toxins too, but it can also be emotional discharge of something that you're needing to let go of in your own destiny or your molecular weight, as you may say. Now we'll get into a molecular weight in a minute here, because that's something that needs to constantly be released in gradual amounts, so you go up and up and up in light wave motion. So we're going to pull the rose now up through the upper body, including the hands and arms, and up to the neck. We're going to let it sit there and nurture the cells of the lungs, the heart, the diaphragm, and also of the arms and the joints in the upper half of the body. The joints need love too, so make sure the joints in the sockets of your bones receive enough rose ray today, especially the hips and the shoulders and the neck are prone to aches and pain, sometimes in light wave transfusion. So nurture this area and allow what's pungent or not well to simply fall off, because the rose ray says, be well in you, be well in your body, be well in your life, be well in everything that you try as you light organza into this world of yours. Now you're going to bring the rose ray up through your head. The next ribbon ray color we're going to bring in is violet and ultraviolet too. This is very, very purifying for the bones in particular. Bones can get stuck in ribbons of light that are not well. Especially the yellow light can dry out the bone marrow. And that's not good for you if the bone marrow dries out. The blood can go sick, go stale, and you don't really need that ever. So we bring this beautiful ray of violet and ultraviolet into the bones and not the cells, into the bones from the toes and up the legs and into the hips and up to the bones of the entire spine and all vertebrae, and up the bones of the fingers, forearms, and elbows, and into the shoulders, and then also into the neck and into the cortex just around the brain. Don't put the violet into any other tissue because it's really meant for bones to purify what is disharmonious inside you. Bones ring in tones of certain sounds, and if you get a Tibetan bowl and you ring it, it is reminiscent of the sounds in your bones. If you get out of tune in your bones, then you run the violet ray and it will tune you up to the system of cadence that's related to you. Now for Pear, he's the cadence of A, whereas for Asur'Ana, she's the cadence of C. They have a Tibetan bowl in cadence of C that's made of 7 metals. The key of C is instrumental to tuning up everyone. So if you can't find a bowl or you don't know what your real sound is, buy a Tibetan bowl in the key of C, and it will tune you up, or others too if you're a healer of some sort. C is universal in this galaxy as the main tone of the planet and of the sun and of most of the planets in the solar system. So it's a universal sound that says tune up and be positive and be well, and that's what the key of C does. If you go to the Hawaiian Islands and you listen to all their music, they tune up their guitar in the key of G. The key of G overlights the key of C, so it's positive and happy music that everybody kind of sings and sways and dances to. They didn't learn the minors because the Hispanics or Spanish people that brought the guitar to them didn't teach them how to tune it up to produce songs that they had written. So they put everything in positives in the key of G, and that's how they sang. But it made people feel wonderful and tune up their bones, which is why the Hawaiians are happier people, perhaps than most others on the planet at this time. So remember that and play some Hawaiian music for yourself too as you tune up your bones in violet, and remember to be happy rather than sad or sorrowful in this life of yours. Now the next color ribbon we're going to bring up is a very beautiful aqua blue. Aqua blue is kind of a deep turquoise, and it harmonizes the world of you. For this ray, you can run it through the cells too, because the cells need to harmonize with one another and to the sound that your bones produce. So the ribbon is again about the size of your hips, and runs through the legs and up to the waist. Let's stop there for just a minute to infuse the cells with the turquoise ray and let them harmonize with one another and harmonize within you. You can fill your room with the turquoise ray too and put it inside the seed of you to let the dream harmonize in your home. Remember to do this at work some because work can be very disgruntled, but if you fill the room with the light organza of turquoise, it will calm people down and they will get along better throughout their day. Now let's bring the turquoise up to the neck, including the hands, arms, and shoulders, and hold it there to harmonize everything else that the body may want to say to itself. Now the body often has statements that it says to itself, and we're going to edit those today. Sometimes the statements you say to yourself in the physical are very, very negative, like, I don't like the way my face looks. I don't like the color of my hair. I wish my waist was smaller. I wish my feet were smaller. I wish my legs were larger, or whatever else you may say to yourself. Even men sometimes think they need to be taller or broader in their shoulders, have a different face or different hair color, or something else that they may say to themselves too. But women are in particular prone to this because you have this society of beauty and glamour and the magazine culture, the makeup industry and all that really is just paint put on somebody who's probably dying underneath, which is kind of a sick thought anyway. Because if you illuminate the body and transfigure it, it's far more beautiful than anything that you could paint on your face anyway. So I suggest keep the makeup to a minimum of natural substances and a little blush or bronzer, and then illuminate your transfiguration and make yourself beautiful in your own light instead. Now we're going to bring the turquoise up just through the hair because turquoise harmonizes the hair follicles to revive and renew. Don't put it in the cortex or in the bones of the head because that's not good for them at all. Alright, let's take another breath and just relax into the turquoise of you. Now we're going to bring up one more color to kind of escalate the cast base of you, and it's pale pink and not rose. Pale pink can run through the entire body, including the cortex, and it's one of the few rays that can be included in the cortex in addition to white. So we'll start with the toes and bring it up to the waist and fill every cell in a drink of pink light. The pink is very pale and very effervescent, and it triggers three things to happen within the cells. It triggers your mitochondria to work better so you have bigger stamina. It triggers the cells to renew and revive. It triggers the cells to want to drink in those substances they're in need of to be well. So if you need vitamins or minerals or certain substances or certain foods, you will know it after the cells are bathed in pink light. So it might be wise to do this before you go to eat at night or eat in the day and see what you really need, because the cells will know it better after they've been bathed in pink. We're going to pull the pink light to the organza all the way up to the neck and to the shoulders, arms, and hands. Understand that organza is different from other rays we may have filled you with in earlier webinars. Organza has a different warmth to it that isn't usually common in the other kinds of light you may have filled yourself with. Organza has a blossom to it that may begin to bloom in each cell or in the heart and the mind that is related. Organza likes to bloom the body, and in the bloom, you remember your divine organization of thoughts that are biochemical, as well as in your mind. We'll run the pink now through the head, filling all the cells of everything there, including the hair and the skin, and let it be that you're in the love of the two of you, male and female, within. Be there in this moment of light organza and sway that says, I am beautiful to me, I am beautiful to you, I am in the oneness of my heart and in the truth of everything that is, and I'm in the love of the love within that's starting to blossom in me, to understand that love is infinite and not something that's just a game to be played out between lovers that chase each other to town or whatever happens in this lifestyle of all these people. That's not what love of love within is. Love of the love within is infinite, and it is a light organza all of itself of rose and pink that may flower in the primera blossom within you. And so we say this to you, that organzas are about flowers of self. Asur'Ana wrote some of this earlier about the need to blossom in these different ribbons and rays in colors that are reminiscent of bluebell or plumeria or some other flower that you enjoy as you organza in these rays. Now, we didn't add yellow because yellow is such a dominant ray. You already have that in the intermix, in the interplay of the body. And we didn't add peach because you have that already in the interplay of the yellow and the red orientation of stamina. Red is still an orientation of stamina in most of your bodies, not fire, but it's a red ray that you run to keep going, and you mix it with the yellow and you get peach and orange. So you are 7 rays today. So allow yourself to be a 7-ray system of light organza and include all of them and see what that does or flourishes around you in your home and in your body to make it be well. Now the ribbons may motion and then diminish. So to keep it going, you trigger it out of the sun to flourish up through the body for as long as you can. So try it for 2 hours and see what happens to you, your home, and your dream for this lifeline of yours. And see what it does to the dreams of others that you may choose to organza around. So if you're living with somebody and they're here with you, you can organza around each other all the beautiful rays of the two. So if this is your partner, I would recommend pink and blue. Organza it around each other and see what that does to the sense of belonging to one another in the beauty and the love of the dream of the two. If you're with children that you care for, and if you have a child that's a twin, then you may want to organza him or her in pink or blue, depending on which way they prefer for care space, and let them feel cared for as you organza you. If it's your wife and she's not really a twin, then bless her anyway with an organza of pink, just in care space of everything. Perhaps she's given to you 2 times, or he's giving to you 2 times if you're married still to someone else. If you're not married, then let the blessings go to those that you need to send blessings to. You need to wrap those that you are forgiving in your life in pink, and this is good for your mother issues at this time. Wrap your mother, whether she's alive or not, in pink, and let her know that you want to forgive her in full for giving birth to you and whatever that triggered deep within your emotional aptitude as a human being to need to love. The need to love is so innate, and when the mother can't provide that, and many couldn't unless you were lucky to be born to a seedling or starseed, then you don't have the love you need, and it's a real issue for most things in your life. So wrap your mother in pink and let her know in the organza of you that you forgive her infinitely for giving birth to you, and you want to release her in deep care and not harbor her in you anymore. Because what happens with mothers and children is you harbor a part of them within you, and that's part of the emotional charge of negativity that can lead to black light. So as you release her in divine care, you simply say, "You were there and you gave birth to me, and maybe you couldn't love me as I needed, or maybe you did. But whatever it is, I need to let it go, that you're not a part of me or in my world of programming anymore." And so as you let that go, you may feel a little lighter, or a little more graceful, or a little less unencumbered in your world of you. Now, if you have a spouse or friend or someone that has been very difficult for you that's female, or whoever the females are in your life that mimics something you feel about your mother, it's time to wrap them in pink too, in an organza through time that just says, I need to release you in care space and forgiveness and not something else. That may lighten up another burden or for you around the feminine. For the masculine that has been difficult for you, including your father, you can wrap them in blue and say, I forgive you and release you too into the winds of time or wherever you need to go to now or forever. And you can do that for any male that has troubled you in your world. Wrap them in a blue organza and let them go and be free to be who they are wherever they need to be in this life of theirs. And be well with new people who perhaps show up that are more delightful to organza light and sway with through time. Now sway is a light ribbon all of its own. It wraps around itself and it goes under and over and through and above and all the way around, and then repeats its pattern up to maybe 30 times, and it leaves in its wake a pattern that looks like a symbol within your field. This is an amazing organza system to master. It's the symbol that most resonates with your heart or your mind, and usually you will have a symbol that resonates with your heart and a symbol that resonates with your mind. With this, we use pure white light and we bring it up first to the spine, and then it goes into the motion of the symbol, wrapping around and through and up and beyond, until the symbol creates a pattern of a white airstream all around the body, until it is formed in running it 20 or 30 times, and stands bright for the moment of a statement of who you are in the truth of this life of yours. This is a powerful system called an emblem from your seed. Now your seed has an emblem that's related to the truth of you, and as you light organza that symbol all the way around the body 20 to 30 times, as a ribbon streams in white, it restores the truth of you for you in this life of yours. This is something you can do daily as you think of it. Usually just once a day is enough to purify you into your truth. One truth will be for heart space and one truth will be for mind space. So this one is for heart space that we take you into first, and we'll do the mind space too, and superimpose the two of them on top of one another, which is a unique organza of light when you can master it with your Tao. Because when you do the two symbols together, it brings about another system of understanding of who you are for divine realization purposes. And so the second symbol will show up also in white light and will start up the spine and then go over and under and around and through, forming a second symbol that's holographic that interchanges or interplays with the first symbol to allow you to understand what a heart-mind unison is about. And in heart-mind unison, you think in love, or you love as you think. Or you think as you emote, and you emote as you think. Some people have very balanced cortexes that naturally stream in this manner. Most in this society outside of starseeds don't have that kind of cortex, so they'll organza either and feel organza and think one or the other, and not necessarily in both stanzas of existence or reality. As you organza in both the heart and the mind, there's another aptitude of understanding that grows within you about people you've known or things you've experienced or life as it is unfolded, and you can forgive it perhaps from a deeper aptitude of a heart-mind alliance of self in a organza of light stream within you. Now, some of you maybe have done this for a time and didn't even realize what you were doing, and it's something that cropped up perhaps in the last 2 years as Baba inaugurated it within you. If it hasn't streamed recently, Baba was not here to inaugurate it may be enough, so you let your Tao do this within yourself to stream the things he would have wanted to give you an organza of light, of heart-mind systems that say, I think as I feel, and I feel as I think, and I love as I do everything I do in this life of mine. As you stream the ribbons in your symbol, you don't copy this symbol. It's unique to you, and it will slowly fade over the course, usually of 4 hours, but reinstate the truth of you in you as a star seed that you were born to be. This is important to do today because so many invade the field of you that you're not in your truth anymore unless you organza in your symbols. Baba did it with you maybe once a week, and then that stopped, perhaps going back to last June when Spirit had a problem and faded upon the planet. So now you learn to do this for you. Maybe in the last semi-year you felt pulled off track somehow in your emotional accord about who you are, what you're doing, and where you're going in this world of yours. And light organza of your truth symbol of heart and mind systems is one way that give restitution to this sense of being off track, which perhaps hasn't manifested anything you haven't done yet, but it could, and it doesn't need to as you pull yourself back into the truth of yourself as a star seed of you. Light organza is a very amazing way to swirl and change the ribbons of your dreams to be beautiful around you. And so there's a stream now that's going to form like an egg around the body. It may be rainbow hue because that is the gift of the Tao today, to put you in a rainbow organza of all 7 rays and stream it all the way around the body, from over the head to around the feet, in an egg shape that's inside the seed system of yours, just as a blessing of truth. That truth stands in all 7 rays, and when they're blended, they become pure white light, and not artificial white light, which isn't made of 7 rays, but made of something else. It's important to remember that the 7 rays are needed to create pure white light and to unite them in the sun under your feet. Don't rely upon the white light you might see in nature, because you don't know if it's really rainbow light or not. Probably isn't in this time period. And that's sad some, because people like to go purify in nature. So purify in you and then go out in nature and enjoy it, and it will be better for you. Now, when it comes to streaming around others, you can do this wherever you go. First, turn on your own organza and maybe clean yourself up some, and then you can take the light ribbons of certain colors and highlight the people around you a little bit better than perhaps you could before. As you wrap it around others in the pink or blue ray, depending on what care space causes them to sway, they may sway with you better, and then you feel better in their presence too. If you do this at work, watch out for the ones that like to snuff out light and don't organza them. Organza the ones that are brilliant in their care space mostly, because those are the ones that you're probably going to sway with the easiest. And of course, you want to do the healers, or the ones that care for you, the ones that are there to support you the most, because they're the ones you want to give to. And if they know how to organza, they may organza you back. Be aware of that and let it be that. That's okay in the purity of you and the purity of them. If there's something there that shows up, that you will most purify it in rainbow white light, and it won't matter to you anyway. The young people are doing this a lot. You see the ribbons streaming in these resorts or places that they work frequently and care about some, because they feel something there that feels like a pseudo home or family, but they can't quite describe, but it works for them. That's what organza does. It creates the sense of family, creates this sense of kinship or soul family sway, or the love of the bond of the many. That's what organza is for in any society of people that need to love and sway and dance and prance and play together through time. There are so many things that don't resonate with light organza that is hard to even explain. The media doesn't at all. So try to stay away from the television. And if you do, enjoy occasional film or something that you just have to, remember that it may fill you with great light, and that really isn't good for the body. If you like music, some music will light organza because you like the melody, or you like the tempo, or you like the words, or you like whatever it is that's going on in that system, and then stream with it, not only to rhythm, but stream with it and see if it enhances your organza. If the music enhances your organza, then use it frequently. If you leave it as a backdrop, you may organza without thinking about it because you did it a few times with that particular melody, and then you turn it on and suddenly you're better. Put it in the car, put it in your headphones, or put it on the computer and organza yourself more frequently, and you'll be better in this life of yours. Music that organza is most likely without words, because words interfere with organza flows in a non-verbal language like wells or nature mostly. So it probably needs to be acoustic and melodious in its melody line like a lullaby. And it can have some dramatic highlights and lowlights because organza likes to flow big and then wave up and be gentle and do different things as it motions and swirls around you. Asur'Ana learned that light wave dance was a beautiful kind of pseudo hula, where she would grow herself in light as she danced in their house. She hasn't been doing this much, and we're about to gear her up to do this again because it fills their home with such beautiful swirls that it cleans things out too. If you don't know light wave hula, go get a video of hula dancers and try that and see what you learn, or just dance for yourself in whatever swirls you want to do and see how the light streams for you too. Light wave dance was a sophisticated notion of different symbols that you made with the arms and fingers that meant something in organza of light in time of Atlantis mostly. Asur'Ana learned them because of Jaskantar's affluence. He was a big light wave dancer in his own time, and loved the motions and sometimes would perform too. And so that can be for you too if you understand that light streams with your hands and your fingers, and you create interesting movements that bless you or make you feel better. We have very little else to say about light organza except that it is an important part of light stream to keep you brilliant rather than dark, so you don't attract dark dreams to you. Dark light is less likely to attract the dark system of accident than it is to cause disease, because the dark light catches in the blood and makes it injured in its own way. The more you run dark light, the more likely you are to develop cancer or some other disease you really want to upset. As you light Organza the body and light Organza the health of you, and you light Organza day to day, the dark light won't show up, and you'll be better in your health and in a play of more playfulness or more joyfulness or something that people really care for in the love of the whole, because light Organza is about the love of the whole. And for you, you want to grow whole in the light Organza of you and grow in the wholeness of all your information and all your archives. Remember that your life isn't about anybody else really. Your life is about you emerging into you and understanding you and being there as the light of you and not the light of someone else or anyone else or any dream that's in this society that might want to say, we really want to snuff you out. Some dreams do and some dreams don't. Some restaurants or Organzas have beautiful light and some don't. Some businesses have beautiful light and others don't. Gravitate towards the places that resonate with the light of you, and you'll be better in your Organza, and you'll be better in your stream of existence and your life stream fostering of the dreams of this life of yours. That's really all we have to say today, and there will be many hours of healing. Do come back to this and do this meditation a few times so that you can learn it for yourself and generate it for yourself, because that's the point of this flux point going into your foundry today. We love you always in the brilliance of you and the brilliance of ourselves and the brilliance of spirit that isn't here as much. New spirits will arise, and the Tao is with you and cares for you as a star seed of her heart. Please bless her too, and the Tao that organized these webinars, as we love them always in this life of ours too. Namaste. Two, three.